You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, it's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are listings that makes official. Welcome to 16 years, 2,300 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. We're just rocking over here doing our thing as it were, and we just need you to listen in, write stuff down, learn, make your life better, grow, all that sort of good stuff, or you can just listen in if you want. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, the TikTokity, and ChrisVossFacebook.com. Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his 2-book series and maybe more to come. We'll find out. Jose Oldenburg joins us on the show. He has 2 books out that are in a series called The Lunam Tales. And his first book was called Horatio in the Wind, Book 1 in the Lumen Tales, out January 1st, 2019. And his second book, that's a follow-up to it, Rosemary and the Crystal of Desires, Book 2 in the Lunam Tales, out March 6th, 2025. Welcome to the show, Jose. How are you?
Thanks for having me, man. I'm great.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Give us your .coms, wherever you want people to find you on the interwebs.
So they can find me. They can find the books at the Lunam Tales. I always tell people Lunam is easy to remember if you think of Manuel in reverse. The LunamTales.com. That's where the books are hosted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's where you find them.
There you go. Give us an overview of the latest book, Book 2 in the series.
So Rosemary and the Crystal of Desires. It's a children's book. These are children's books, but I wanted to make children's books. I always say that they are for the adult's inner child and for the child's inner adult. They're for kids ages, 7 to 65. And it's a book about, they deal with grief and loss and moving on. And it's about a girl who loses her brother, and she finds a crystal that gives the holder what they most desire. So she gives the crystal to her mom, and her mom just sees her lost brother. And eventually asks the crystal to bring him back. The boy comes back, but he comes back enlightened and, beauty and all this themes of moving on ensue.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And it's targeted towards children's books, but the children, inner child of people. What ages do you think the book is targeted to?
It's been very interesting because, for example, when I go read them at schools and stuff, I've been asked to read them for kids, say, ages up to 6. Mm-hmm. And usually they'll be really caught up in the mystery and the audio companion. The books really feel like Pixar movies, but they won't. The themes of like loss and grief and what the books really deeply talk about will go over their heads. So the meetings are usually more about the process of being an author. But when I go and I talk to kids that are ages 7 to 10, then it gets real interesting.
Wow.
So I feel like they're children's books for kids that already have the level of understanding that they're reading novels. They just happen to be short stories, but their reading comprehension is pretty profound.
Wow, there you go. Now this is book 2 in the series.
Yes.
Tell us about book 1, Horatio in the Wind, that started the Lumen Tales.
So Horatio in the Wind is about a boy who loses his father, and he becomes afraid of passing away, finds this crystal, the same crystal that his sister uses to bring him back. And he uses it to trap death. He kidnaps death with the crystal and gives everlasting life to his kingdom, but soon realizes that life without death is not what he expected. So he has to find the courage to let death go, let people pass away.
Wow. And what was the reasoning behind the plot of the Lunam
The
Tales?
Lunam Tales. Well,
Yes.
I was a very scared kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was always like specifically about death. When I was little, I would like cry myself to sleep. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to pass away. I didn't want anybody to pass away.
Oh.
And I was encouraged to write stories.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 9, I wrote this story about a king who kidnapped death. And it's interesting because, the first book is dedicated to Jim Henson,
Mm-hmm.
the creator of the Muppets, because in 1987, Jim Henson adapted to TV a Russian folktale from the 1800s called The Soldier and Death. And I saw that story when I was a little kid, and
Mm-hmm.
it really imprinted in me. And then I created my own version. So in a way, Horatio and the Wind is a modern reimagination of a Russian folktale from the 1800s.
Oh wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Modern war thing from Russia. There you go. So what was it that impacted you that made you so afraid of death? Was there something that happened in your childhood that
The,
impacted that?
it's an interesting story. My mom believes that it was passed to me during pregnancy because my grandfather, her dad, was having open heart surgery
Hmm.
while she was pregnant with me. It was a delicate pregnancy. She was in bed. She was afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing her dad, and says that she spent a lot of time thinking about that
Hmm.
because I didn't really experience like nobody in my family died when I was a kid. I just
Hmm.
grew up being before I was afraid of it, I was apparently very intense about it. Like when some uncle died, I told my aunt or like great aunt that he was fluttering with the birds or some shit like that.
Hmm. There you go. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of reasoning that we use to deal with death, especially when we're young. We don't understand it, and so you've intertwined some of that experience to help other kids, maybe be able to square that circle a little bit
Yeah.
when dealing with
Well,
death.
and I feel like culturally we're kind of ill prepared to accept our own mortality. So more than dealing with death, I hope that the books let people sort of feel connected to the fact that this isn't a rehearsal. This is your life. You're living
Mm-hmm.
it right now. It's passing a day at a time.
Yeah.
And a fear of death sometimes is really it translates into a fear of life. So
Yeah.
the books are infused by knowledge from like Eckhart Tolle and the Stoics. Like
Oh.
they're
Okay.
more about accepting our mortality so that we can live fully than really focusing on, oh, they're about death. They're about life.
There you go. Well, I think a lot of people when you're young, you're trying to understand these meanings in life. Society's like, well, this is what we do, and you're like, well, that doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah,
And and they're like, well, we do it anyway. you
yeah,
know, go get a job, go get
yeah. Yeah.
debt, and
Th-
and then work
There's
your
a
ass off all your life.
there's a theme in the books of becoming one with the stars or one with nature when we pass. Like we're made of stars. We're made of the nothingness that surrounds us,
Hmm.
and we came from it, and to it we shall go back, and there's nothing scary about that.
It's true. One of the things I study, I don't know if you've ever studied it, memento mori in Latin is the meaning remember you must die. And it comes from
Yeah,
Stoicism, comes from Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. It's a basic core concept of Stoicism.
yeah. To
And
remember that you will die.
yeah, and it really helps because you you anything of value in life is rare, right? Diamonds, gold. I mean, well, actually, if you understand how diamonds are made, De Beers buys them all up and stores them and hoards them. But anything of value in life is rare. That's why true love is so sought after because it's so rare. It's so hard to find. Life is hard to find when you understand, the millions or billions of sperm that are put out during a sexual act, and only one of those sperms gets to
It's
potentially
crazy
be.
luck.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy luck. I
crazy
mean,
luck.
if you're alive right now, listen to this. You have won one of the greatest lottery systems ever in the universe. Because most everything dies, and sometimes it doesn't even make it to birth. I mean, like I said, men are given billions of sperms a month, and a lot of it gets wasted, and those are all potential people. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's I've often said this, that like when my dogs were having cancer, and I was hospice carrying them, people are like, oh, you should just let them go. And I'm like, no, they won one of the greatest lotteries in this world. Life is precious because it is rare, because it can be taken from you at any moment. You can lose it at any moment.
Yeah.
You can be fine, healthy, and the most perfect of health, like that guy who spends $2 million a year to have the most perfect medications and supplements and blah blah
All
blah.
right, the
He can get
very
hit
young
by a
guy.
bus tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. He could be at the beach and a coconut could fall on his
Yeah,
face.
could fall on his face, and you just never know.
Yeah, it ends like that, man. And I like to be really hyper. I don't know if I like to. I just happen to be. That's the way my brain works. I'm just like
Mm,
hyper aware of like the fact that my life will end, and I try to live every moment to the fullest, whether I'm like brushing my teeth or just hanging out with my mom. You know what I mean? Like I also, it took a lot of work to not be afraid of dying, of passing away, like to realize that like that fear actually paralyzes you in your life. It gets in
yeah,
the way of you living. I mean, I was probably dead for millions of years before I came here, and I'll go back to that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
go back to
It
become
is what
one
it
with the
is.
oneness. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an atheist. I grew up in a religious cult, and they used to tell me, they used to go, well, what you believe is that when you die, you're just going to cease to exist and go off into the ether. And I'm like, well, yeah. And they go, but you'll just be in blackness, dead. And I'm like, I probably won't be very conscious about it. Like, I'm not going to be just like, I'm just sitting here dead, floating through the universe.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not like that. I'm pretty sure I won't be aware of whatever situation I'm currently in, and that's fine if
Well,
that's the way it is.
yeah. If my ayahuasca trip was right,
Hmm. Hmm.
there is
There
a
you go.
oneness to all of it.
Yeah, yeah. It'll just be like that. But no, I mean, it's not like I'm going to be sitting around going, "Geez, I wish I could go to 7-Eleven right now."
Yeah, yeah.
There may be something. I used to joke and say, hey, if there is something after this life, considering I didn't factor for it, bonus round. You
Well,
know?
and it's interesting because some people, the people that call it nothing, right? Oh, nothing happens when you die. Nothing happens. You go back to nothing. And where did you come from? You came from nothing.
You
Oh, so
came
you
from
mean
nothing.
you go back to your creator then?
You go right back to the thing. And, I mean, nobody gets out of here alive. But one of the other things is, you talked about how people will do all sorts of crazy things to deny death. I think there's a book called Denial of Death that I read in high school that's really
Denial of
popular.
death. I have that book here
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah. And it talks about how we
Ernest
do all
Becker.
these things to deny death. And one thing I used to see from people that were of certain religions is I would see this restriction they would do. And part of it is a control factor for any sort of, it's not just religious space, it's a control factor for humans. But to deny them pleasures and tell them the pleasures are sinful and evil and blah, 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 and, make them suffer through your will. But um, I would see people that would take this life and they're like, I'm not going to travel. I'm not gonna experience certain things. I'm not gonna watch movies that are too artistic and maybe they have too much swear words in them or nudity. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna do these things. I'm not gonna drink coffee. I'm not gonna drink Coke. I'm not, all these limits to this life. And I used to sit and look at it and go, if there is a creator that seeded all this stuff and said, have fun, knock yourselves out, enjoy yourselves. If there was a creator, this is the gift that he's given to us, all these wonderful things in life. So why not embrace them and enjoy them? Why
Yeah.
not dine on them? And they give you that whole free will and you got to do what God wants because
But I
whatever, you're
guess
not getting into heaven.
But I mean, I guess everyone enjoys their lives in different ways. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
Like in limitations, like there's a lot of products that, like, for example, like if I consume Coca-Cola or I drink any, like, it makes me feel like absolute trash. So I enjoy consuming them. Like I am called towards sugar the same way that everyone is. But when I consume it, I feel like a trash can. So like
Yeah.
I limit the consumption, and it's funny. I've had cousins make fun of me being like, "Oh, you don't enjoy life," and I'm like, "No, I enjoy life my own way. Like if I don't consume that, I feel amazing. I'm only tempted to consume it when I have it in front of me. Once it's not in front of me, I'm God thankful that I didn't drink it."
There you go. And so you see people put a restriction on life where the greatness of their life isn't they don't enjoy they don't ever fulfill life. And I've seen that I saw that my father's passing. He was so afraid of death. He was so afraid to die.
It
He was so
was.
afraid of yeah, he was very afraid of it, especially at the end. And I know he wanted to cling to life because it meant so much, but he was so scared of it. He was so scared of the end, and he would just fight against it, and that was fine. But you can't. There's a favorite line that I have in from No Country for Old Men, and it's a great scene. And Tommy Lee Jones goes in to see, I believe it's his uncle or his grandfather or one of his relatives, and he's wheelchair bound in this house in Texas in the middle of nowhere. And he comes there to check in on him and talk about life. And the old man in the wheelchair says to him, he says, "What you got ain't nothing new. It ain't all about you. Um, you can't stop what's coming. That's vanity." And the basic message is life is going to come at you and death is going to come at you, and whatever happens is going to happen. You can't think that you're above it all. You can't be vain to think, well, that's not going to happen to
Yeah.
me. And it's a vanity that in believing that, whatever. And I think we get vain in our lives. We think we're immortal sometimes. We think we're going to live forever. I've certainly thought, maybe my dogs are going to live longer than they did. And certainly my early ones did. And I expected my older ones too, and they died shorter. And so you just never know. But this bullshit that we kind of, I don't know, we kind
And
of mental masturbate ourselves with that we're
yeah.
above it, that it won't happen to us, that we'll live forever, that we don't need to mind the time is vain.
Well,
And
I think fear is another type of mental masturbation. You know what I mean? It's like the
mhm,
opposite. Like if I feel myself like not good enough or not strong enough or not hot enough, not whatever enough, like that's also a form of vanity where I'm like not feeling myself above life but beneath it.
mhm,
And it's like I find it very interesting that you said, your father was afraid of the end at the end, because I think about that a lot and I feel
mhm,
like I would like to face life or death knowing, like I try to remind myself, like I have I could have in the past had a tendency towards like insecurity and had to do a lot of work to like be like dare to do the things I wanted to do. If I wanted to play music, if I wanted to write the books, like dare to feel, right size, not
mhm.
above, not below. But I would like to think that I'll face death the way that many people have faced it. Like what's his name? He wrote The Power of Intention. Wayne Dyer,
Mhm.
who just said, "Oh, it's beautiful," I think were his last words. So like he speaks about the last words of many people, and some just say like God, God, God. Like I like to be able to live such a life that when the time comes to die, I can look death in the eye and just go, "All right, here we go."
Yeah.
I don't
Uh,
want to be
the
afraid.
the line from Marcus Aurelius is, "Death smiles upon us. All we can do is smile back."
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah. And if
definitely.
we're
I mean,
aware of that,
hmm
daily,
hmm
it's a reminder to, like, for example, if you struggle like me, like if I struggle with confidence, and like when I want to do something, just remind myself that I'm gonna die,
yeah,
and then just go
do it
for it,
now.
because
What do
exactly.
you have to lose?
Yeah.
I mean, and I remember when I put my dog through raw diet to try and extend her life from cancer. They'd given her a 3-day death sentence, and they're like, she's got cancer. Take 3 days, come back, and we'll call the ball. And I went home and I said, wow, this seems like, is there anything I can do for her? She hadn't been eating, of course, showing all the signs that many dogs will do in the wild. What they do is they stop eating, they go off, dig a hole, and away from the tribe, and they pass away. And that's how they, because when you're weaker, there's things will come for you in the
Yeah.
environment in the wild. So they kind of know that they're on their way out, and they go try and find a place to hide and a safe place to pass. And um, uh, so I said, she's got a death sentence. What's the worst that can happen? In me trying to keep her, let her live longer by seeing if there's something I can do. And so I found that by giving her a raw diet, and there were people that, they did this thing with the raw diet that could basically make it so that she could possibly get the nutrients that she wanted. And then we did that. She started eating, and she lived for another year to almost 2 years, three
That's
quarters,
amazing.
year and
I
three
love
quarters.
that. I love
And
that, man.
it was all because we got her eating her natural diet, her in the wild diet, where she was just eating red, raw meat all the time, no sugar, all fat. Turns out cancer hates fat and it loves
Cancer
sugar,
loves sugar.
loves sugar. And so that was an example. One of the things I have that I would describe to anyone to have, because you talked about how we need to be mindful of this daily, that where death's door is always a present. And so I keep a thing from Memento Mori. You can find this on Etsy, and you can buy this chart that has all the weeks of your life or potential of your life up to a certain age. So I have mine that goes from 0 to 100, assuming I live to 100. My father lived to, I think, 74 or 76. I can't remember, but it's marked on the weeks, and each mark is filled in of my life, of a week of my life. So it's sent to me filled in with, at my age, um, all the weeks gone. And that's when I kind of looked at it and realized that I'm in the fourth quarter, third or fourth quarter of my life, depending upon how long I live. And my father did have a lot of health issues. Long before, 10 or 15 years younger than I am, I don't have any of those issues. So I'm hoping I'll extend my life beyond
Going
his.
strong.
But yeah, but you never know.
Well,
But
but we've also learned so. Yeah, go ahead.
so each week I click off the week of my life, and it shows me, there's like this much there's this much here of weeks that I've lived, and then there's like this much of left.
But yeah, and you're like, ah, shit.
And you're like, wow. And it really kind of compresses and keeps you focused. And I keep that on my fridge so that every day I'm reminded of it.
I want to get it because it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm 36. Like I'm
Yeah.
people think I'm in my 20s, but like when I look at the back, I'm like, yo, like a lot of like it starts to fly. You know what I mean? It starts to go
Mm-hmm.
by really quick, and when you see it in weeks or when you see it in months,
Mm-hmm.
you really realize you don't get that many.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that many, so like live it
Yeah.
up. Say I love you. Hug people. Like take
Yeah.
risks.
Live your life like there's no tomorrow. So I'll try and find, let's see, Memento. I think if you search Memento Mori, uh, weeks calendar, weekly calendar, Memento Mori weekly calendar, and I believe you'll find it there. And they have these calendars where you can literally fill in each week, and they track, how much time you have used and how much time you have
You have
left.
less.
And I think
Damn.
it's important, even for people like at your age, where you know it, your
I'm gonna
thirties
do
are
it. I'm gonna
your
do it
thirties are one
because
of the best times of your life, and so this is important to do it. And death is coming one way or another. No matter how vain you want to
yeah.
be that it's not coming for you, or you're above it all, or you're going to live a long life, you can all be hit by a bus tomorrow. A car could cross through. Somebody's texting on their phone. They
Yeah.
drive through the intersection. That's it. You're
Yeah.
game over. I always say goodbye to people in my life. Any girlfriend I've ever had, I kiss them when they leave, and I kiss them when they come back, because I realize that there's a moment they could walk out the door
No, come
and
back.
something could happen to them, and I never see them again.
Yeah.
And that may be the very last time. And that's happened with my dogs. It's happened with other people I've loved. And it's tragic when you can't have those final conversations.
I try to do that as well. Like I always tell my parents how much I love them.
Mm-hmm.
It's very common in Latin America, but like I'll still refer to my mom and dad like mommy and daddy. Like I still like I treat them like when we're having emotional conversations. I treat them like I'm a kid. They treat me like I'm a kid. When it comes to loving on each other, and I love that. I love that about us. Like love you, daddy, love you, mommy. Like as if I was a kid because one day I'm not gonna have them, and I know for a
Mm-hmm.
fact I will not regret not having loved on them enough.
Yeah.
And the
But
same
life is
applies to other
short.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, life is short. So I'm glad you're writing these books that help kids. Is there any future books in the series coming out?
there is actually. So I'll show you. This is a hardcover. This is Horatio and the Wind's hardcover.
Okay.
And so it's Horatio in the Wind, Book One in the Lunam Tales, Rosemary and the Crystal of Desires. And I have August Enchanted. It's coming out in October.
Hmm.
August Enchanted is, I'm going to show you the cover right here.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, August Enchanted is my first novel. It's a
Mm-hmm.
direct sequel to the books. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's about so Rosemary and Horatio, the whole shebang with being afraid of dying is because they lost their dad.
Oh.
So August is their father. From his perspective, he disappeared because of the same crystal. He disappeared for 70 days, but when he comes back, it's been 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's a child. So like he's a child. He's 12. He has memories of having been an adult. He has memories of having had kids, and there's not a kingdom anymore. And he's trying to find his place in the world. So he starts to write letters with his daughter, who is now a grandmother.
Hmm.
So you have this child father and this old lady daughter writing to each other, and the novel is in part these letters.
Oh, there you go. Well, that should be very interesting and very exciting for people. And then you said is it up on Amazon yet? To
So the books Horatio and Rosemary are available everywhere that books are sold.
Mhm.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. If you want the hardcover copies, you can buy them on Amazon, or you can buy them at thelunamtales.com. I'll show it on the screen. Thelunamtales.com.
.com. There
That
you
would
go.
be buying it direct from my store.
Mm-hmm.
I just published Rosemary last week, so I still have to upload the product pictures for Rosemary, but it's available on the website too. But if you want to, go feeling safe, you can buy them from Amazon or Barnes
There,
and Noble.
there you go. That should be fun then. Well, I'm glad you're writing books that help people get through some of their issues and influence them and maybe put away some of their fears and
And
help them
yes,
face. You can't stop what's coming, folks. That's vanity.
you can't stop what's coming. But also, FYI, like they are really fun books. I want to read you a little bit. I wrote this message in the back of the books, if I may read it to you.
Sure.
Um, it says, "What are these books trying to say? The Lunam Tales, though written through the lens of children's stories, aim to illuminate a deeper spiritual truth about grief and loss, one that many may not have fully explored or understood. For some, these books may simply be entertaining for their fantasy elements, and if that is the case, let it be so. However, if the story stirs something deeper within you, a feeling, a knowing, or a question about the nature of death, know that this too is their intended purpose.
Hmm.
These tales seek to present death not as an end, but as a relative truth, real only from our limited human perspective. In absolute terms, death is a return to nothingness, the vast, infinite space from which all life emerges. It is a return to oneness, the source from which we came, and to which we all inevitably return."
Mm-hmm.
They feel like movies, the books. Like I'll show you a couple of the illustrations. I'm a filmmaker myself. I make films. I make like 2 short films a year, put them in festivals, go to the festival. So I wanted the original idea behind these books was that they would become movies.
Mm-hmm.
So they come with soundtracks, and the soundtracks have like a whole orchestra. The soundtracks really create a whole experience. Like if you scan the QR code on the opening page, you can get the soundtrack, and it makes the book feel like a Pixar movie in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtracks are amazing, and Yeah, that's the goal. Keep selling them. I would show you a hardcover copy of Rosemary, but I sold all the ones that I had, so I have to order
Okay.
more.
That's good. We'll have a link on the Chris Voss Show. So
Yes.
there you well, as we go out, Jose, tell people where they can onboard with you, where they can order the books, all your .coms, et cetera, et cetera.
So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's jose.oldenburg. If you want to get the books, thelunamtales.com. If you want to on YouTube, I'm Jose Oldenburg. But I'm most active on Instagram, and you can message me there if you have any questions. You can also message me on the site. I would be happy to send you the books, sign them for you if you want. Whatever you need,
There you go.
I'm
There
here
you
for
go.
the audience.
Whatever you need, check it out, have fun, enjoy it, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much for coming on the show, bud. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Order the book wherever fine books are sold. His latest is out March 6, 2025. Rosemary and the Crystal of Desires, Book 2 in the Lunam Tales. Thanks for my audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.